Actually, for me, it started with a whole other field. I was an avid little artist when I was a small kid. I was just saying to my wife the other day, how often do we just sit down at the kitchen table, get out some pieces of paper and crayons and sit down and just draw? Never. I mean, adults don't do that, but when you're a little kid, you're doing it all the time. I drew and I drew and I drew. I did not think of myself as an artist. I didn't think of myself as anything. I was very isolated as a kid. I spent a lot of time by myself. In the seventh grade, I had drawn something that had come out, was kind of astonishing. I still have the piece. And the teacher told my parents that I should have a career in the arts. And they came home from the PTA meeting and they said, your teacher said you should have a career in the arts. And you know, of course, that isn't possible. That is not what, we don't, because we didn't come from that. We were too working class to follow that sort of thing. It seemed like incredibly luxurious to have a career in the arts. So I abandoned the idea and proceeded along thinking that I would, I don't know what, get a BA in something. In high school, they had a class one day where they were just reading Shakespeare out loud. And that was my first introduction to theater. I had never been to a play. I didn't know what theater was. And I took to it like a fish to water. I think all the time I'd spent by myself over the years, I had developed this whole thing of amusing myself, being characters, fantasy. And I asked, how can I do more of this? And they said, there's a club. And I joined the club in high school, and I continued, and I kept quitting, again, believing that there was no way I could do it as a career, including when I came to New York. I immediately quit in 1975. But I kept drifting back into it. In 1982, I met Joe Papp, and it all started to really get on a track that I've been on since that time, that was quite solid as far as a real career as an actor. I still think that just saying you're an actor, it's a really, talk about gambling, it's a dicey world. And because writing is hard for me, it's like my job. And so I believe a job should be hard. So I do my hard job, and then I do my fun job, which is my acting, which I just love so much. I'm on a new series that's just on Netflix right now that's hasn't popped out yet, that Baz Luhrmann's doing, called The Get Down. It's the birth of hip hop in the 1970s, and I have it's kind of funny. I have a recurring role in it, and I'm just some old guy who's a record producer, but I know more about that scene than anybody who's involved in the movie. I toured with the Rocksteady crew in 1982 also. So I have this funny career where I've had whole other things that don't fit in with like writing history books